You don't remember how it happened. One moment you were lying in bed, blanket half kicked, earbuds in, eyes heavy with sleep. The next, dirt, blood, thunder without rain, the shriek of metal clashing with bone. Welcome to ancient China. You're in the Warring States period, centuries before the first emperor, in a land divided by ambition, betrayal, and steel. The air smells of sweat and ash. The ground trembles beneath tens of thousands of marching feet. You're not a prince. You're not a warrior monk. You're just a conscript, a body in a line. Someone shoves a shield into your hands. Someone else mutters a prayer. A horn sounds in the distance. You flinch. And just like that, history stops being something you read and becomes something you survive. You stand motionless in a vast formation of weary armored men, the heavy silence punctuated only by anxious breaths and occasional coughs. Sweat rolls sluggishly down your back beneath armor that clings oppressively, constricting your breath and dampening your courage. The morning mist hangs low, thick and reluctant to lift, cloaking the battlefield in ghostly uncertainty. You blink, eyes stinging from the acrid blend of sweat, dust, and fear. Insects drone persistently through the damp grass, indifferent to the tension gripping every soldier present. Each tiny buzz grates on your nerves, a reminder of the fragile calm before inevitable chaos. The scent of iron, wet earth, and unwashed bodies mingles with the sharp tang of anticipation, filling your nostrils and twisting your gut into knots. Ahead, the enemy line extends ominously across the horizon, like a dark wave poised to engulf you. Spears glitter dimly in the pale light, and battle flags ripple with quiet menace, countless and impossible to quantify. Each movement from across the field sends a shudder down your spine. Your commander's voice cuts through the oppressive air, loud yet distant, his words hollow and meaningless against the overwhelming sense of dread that grips your heart. Behind you, war drums begin to rumble, slow and steady at first, like a heartbeat, then quicker, more urgent. You don't step forward voluntarily. The mass behind pushes you relentlessly, an unstoppable tide of bodies propelling you toward doom. Your fingers tremble uncontrollably, slick with sweat as they grip your shield tighter. Beside you, one soldier murmurs a barely audible prayer, his voice shaking. On your other side, another man stands eerily silent, his gaze fixed rigidly forward, unblinking and distant. Somewhere on a nearby rise, a general observes the impending carnage dispassionately, orchestrating your fate like pieces on a brutal chessboard. Suddenly, the air fills with an unmistakable, chilling sound, the sharp whistle of arrows slicing through the misty sky. Your stomach clenches instinctively as time slows to a painful crawl. Thunk. Just 2 paces ahead, a fellow soldier collapses abruptly, an arrow protruding grotesquely from his throat. Crimson spurts forth violently, staining the earth with hot blood. Yet no one pauses, no one dares to break stride. You have neither space nor time to react or grieve, stepping mechanically around his twitching form, your mind numbed by shock. Then the formation breaks into a charge, not heroic or gallant, but frantic and desperate. Soldiers rush forward clumsily, crashing and colliding in terrified disarray. You move not with bravery, but with the singular desperate thought echoing endlessly through your panicked mind: don't die. Every step forward draws you deeper into the brutal certainty of battle. Your legs, heavy and trembling, churn forward mechanically, guided by sheer instinct and raw fear. The cries around you blend into a single deafening roar. The world narrows until nothing remains but your pounding heart, ragged breath, and the harrowing uncertainty of the next moment. You feel your humanity slipping away, replaced by an animalistic desperation to simply survive. Armor clanks and rattles, metal scraping against metal in a discordant symphony. The distant enemy line looms closer with each harried step, their faces growing clearer, grim masks of determination and hatred mirrored by your own comrades' expressions. Suddenly, a sharp crack reverberates through your shield as an enemy projectile finds its mark, nearly wrenching it from your grasp. Your arm jolts painfully, your nerves screaming in protest. You barely recover, staggering slightly yet refusing to fall, aware that to stumble now would mean certain death beneath the trampling feet of your own desperate comrades. The drums pound relentlessly, echoing in your ears and mingling with your frantic heartbeat. Your breath comes in short, ragged gasps, your lungs burning as though filled with hot embers. You push forward, not because of courage or glory, but because there's no other choice. Every muscle screams in agony, every fiber of your being begs to turn and flee, yet your feet betray you, driving relentlessly onward toward the enemy's gleaming spears. Your vision tunnels, blurring at the edges as panic threatens to overwhelm you completely. And still, you charge, because in this moment, survival hinges solely on momentum. The earth beneath your feet, churned and slick with mud and blood, offers no stability, no comfort. Around you, fellow soldiers scream and fall, bodies collapsing like marionettes with severed strings. Yet you remain upright, propelled forward by nothing more than sheer blind determination to avoid their fate. In the final heart-stopping seconds before collision, time stretches infinitely, each heartbeat echoing painfully within your chest. Your world narrows further still until only the nearest enemy soldier fills your vision, a young face, eyes wide with the same terror reflecting your own. You raise your shield instinctively, bracing for impact, your mouth opening in a soundless scream of defiance and desperation. The crash, when it comes, is deafening and absolute. Your bodies collide violently, your senses overwhelmed by the brutal impact. Pain blossoms throughout your body, bright and sharp, driving all coherent thought from your mind. You reel, staggering backward yet still somehow standing, adrenaline the only thing keeping your battered frame upright. The true horror, you realize distantly, is only just beginning. You must fight, or pretend to fall. The collision reverberates through your body like thunder through storm clouds, violent and unforgiving. Your ears ring sharply, deafened temporarily by the clash of metal on metal, the cries of anguish, and the guttural shouts of desperate men. Vision spinning. You struggle to regain your bearings, feet slipping on ground now slick with mud, blood, and trampled grass. You manage to steady yourself, drawing ragged breaths as your blurred vision clears enough to see the chaos unfolding around you. Soldiers thrash and grapple in a savage melee, their faces twisted by raw, primal emotion. No formation remains, only a brutal, swirling chaos of bodies locked in mortal struggle. A shadow looms suddenly before you. Instinctively, you thrust your splintered shield upward, just in time to deflect a sword swung by an enemy soldier. The impact jars your arm painfully, sending a shockwave up to your shoulder. Without thought, driven purely by adrenaline and survival instinct, you lash out wildly with your blade, the weapon feeling heavier and more awkward than it ever did in training. The enemy soldier stumbles back, momentarily off balance. You seize the opening, lunging forward in a clumsy counterattack. Your blade glances off his armor with a metallic screech, barely leaving a scratch, but it forces him backward, slipping on the treacherous footing beneath. Around you, the battlefield is a cacophony of horror. Men cry out in agony, weapons clash deafeningly, and every direction you turn reveals another scene of brutality. Panic grips your chest tighter, your breath hitching with each new moment of terror. Your armor feels suffocatingly heavy now, weighing down every movement, every desperate swing and parry. Your eyes flick frantically across the field, searching for allies, for familiar faces, but there are none, only strangers, locked in their own battles, oblivious to your plight. You're alone amidst this chaos, isolated despite being surrounded by countless struggling bodies. Suddenly a searing pain shoots through your side, sharp and unexpected. You glance down in shock to see crimson staining your armor. A blade has found its mark. The pain spreads rapidly, dulling your thoughts and sapping your strength. You stagger, the ground shifting unpredictably beneath your weakening legs. Despair begins to seep into your consciousness. Every instinct screams at you to drop, to curl up and surrender to the overwhelming agony and fatigue. Yet a deeper primal fear pushes you onward, urging you to stay upright, to keep moving, to cling desperately to life. But your body betrays you. Your knees buckle, sending you sprawling into the blood-soaked mud. The impact steals what little breath remains in your lungs, leaving you gasping helplessly. Through blurred vision you see boots moving around you, oblivious to your fallen form, trampling anything in their path. This, you realize dimly, is your chance, not to fight, but to stop fighting. You let your body slump completely, muscles going slack, limbs sprawling lifelessly. You slow your breathing, forcing yourself to remain utterly still. Despite the agony radiating through your wounded side, your heart pounds thunderously in your chest, the only sign of life you cannot completely mask. You're playing dead. Every sound, every sensation grows sharper, more intense. You hear the screams of the wounded, the chilling final gasps of the dying, and the horrifying indifference of the living as they step over and around you. You feel the cold, damp earth beneath your face, the sticky warmth of your own blood pooling beneath you. Time loses all meaning as you lay motionless, fear gnawing at your resolve with every passing moment. The battle rages on around you, indifferent to your act of surrender, utterly unaware of your small defiance against death. You wonder with grim irony if the hardest battle was never the fight itself, but the terrifying choice to pretend defeat, to remain still amidst this relentless storm of violence. And now you lie silently among the dead and dying, waiting anxiously for the storm to pass, praying desperately that no one sees through your deception. Because in this twisted theater of survival, your performance must be flawless. Your life depends on it. The clamor of battle slowly recedes, replaced by a heavy, oppressive silence, broken only by occasional groans and distant shouts. You lie motionless, eyes closed, your senses heightened to a near unbearable degree. Each breath is shallow, carefully measured, barely enough to keep consciousness tethered. Your ears strain, desperate to interpret every sound as either threat or salvation. The silence thickens. Minutes stretch painfully into what feels like hours. Your heartbeat thunders against your ribs, a relentless drumbeat that you fear might betray you. Gradually, distant noises become clearer. Heavy footsteps trudging methodically through mud, the clink of metal tools, and voices speaking in weary, detached tones. Enemy scavengers. Your stomach tightens. They are here for the grim harvest of battle. Armor, weapons, valuables, and proof of kills. Your mind races back to whispered campfire tales, gruesome warnings about how enemy soldiers collect ears as trophies. You suppress a shudder, suddenly hyper-aware of your own vulnerability. The footsteps draw nearer, deliberate and indifferent. Each approaching sound sends fresh waves of panic coursing through your veins, yet you remain rigidly still, your body committed to the grim performance. The earth beneath you grows colder, clammy against your exposed skin, as blood from your wound continues to seep slowly into the mud. A shadow falls over your closed eyelids. Your pulse spikes uncontrollably. The scavenger's breathing is heavy, labored from exertion or boredom. You sense the scrutiny, the lingering gaze assessing your limp form. Check him, a gravelly voice orders curtly. Hands grasp roughly at your armor, tugging at buckles, pulling at straps. The sensation is invasive, humiliating, stripping away any dignity that might remain. Your armor clatters as pieces are tossed aside carelessly, exposing your battered body to the damp, cold air. Another voice grunts questioningly. Closer now. Cut it. The first replies dispassionately. Your heart nearly stops. You steel yourself against the impending agony, knowing any reaction will betray your ruse. The blade presses cold against your ear, slicing swiftly through flesh. Pain explodes through your skull, sharp and blinding, yet somehow you remain silent. Teeth clenched hard enough to crack. Blood trickles hotly down your neck, mingling with sweat and mud. Still warm, the voice observes casually, a note of mild surprise rather than concern. Fresh kill. Then another voice answers with indifferent certainty. They step away without a second thought, their conversation fading into murmured banter. You remain frozen, the severed wound throbbing intensely, each pulse amplifying your suffering. The minutes drag endlessly, your mind clouded by dizziness and nausea. You fight to stay conscious, your survival hanging precariously by the thread of your resolve. Eventually the scavengers move away, their voices and footsteps gradually diminishing into silence. You're left lying exposed among the fallen, stripped of armor, dignity, and a piece of yourself. Your breathing trembles, ragged with pain and relief. As silence settles again, the cold seeps deeper into your bones, wrapping around you like a merciless shroud. Flies buzz insistently, landing softly on your skin, their tiny movements maddeningly irritating, yet you cannot swat them away. Your mind drifts in and out of lucidity, wavering between pain and the numbing embrace of unconsciousness. Hours pass, though time is now an elusive concept, slipping through your grasp as easily as sand through trembling fingers. The light fades gradually, shadows stretching across the battlefield. The oppressive heat of the day gives way to a biting chill, exacerbating your physical torment. You strain your ears again, fearful of further danger but also yearning for rescue. Would your own side reclaim their fallen, or had you been utterly forsaken, another forgotten casualty in this relentless conflict? Fatigue eventually overwhelms caution. Your muscles spasm involuntarily, exhausted from prolonged rigidity. You risk opening your eyes ever so slightly, the sliver of vision blurred by grime and tears. Darkness now cloaks the battlefield, the silhouettes of bodies barely discernible. A low guttural groan nearby jolts you sharply, your body instinctively tensing once more. You sense movement, faint, halting, desperate. Another soldier, wounded yet alive, trying feebly to crawl away. You share a brief, unspoken moment of mutual understanding and anguish. His struggles weaken, and finally cease entirely, plunging the scene back into suffocating stillness. The bitter reality presses heavily upon you. Survival on this battlefield demands not only cunning but merciless perseverance. Your life hangs tenuously, balanced between agony and endurance. You steel yourself once more, vowing silently that you will rise from this desolation, even if it costs every remaining shred of your strength. For now you've survived the brutal harvest, but your ordeal is far from over. Darkness settles over the battlefield, like a thick, suffocating blanket, heavy and oppressive. With the fading of daylight, cold creeps stealthily across your skin, tightening its icy grip, amplifying the dull ache throughout your battered body. You lie motionless among fallen comrades and foes alike, the chill of the earth seeping slowly into your bones, numbing your pain and your senses equally. The battlefield, once teeming with fierce energy and desperate cries, now lies eerily silent. Every rustle, every faint creak of armor settling or wind stirring through the grass sends ripples of anxiety through your weary mind. Your ears strain in the darkness, attuned to the slightest indication of further danger. You remain locked in this agonizing stillness, fearful that even the smallest movement might betray your carefully crafted illusion of death. Gradually, new sounds emerge from the distance, soft footsteps, hesitant yet determined, accompanied by muted voices whispering furtively. Not soldiers, you realize, but civilians, peasants from nearby villages, drawn like vultures to the aftermath of slaughter, seeking whatever the scavengers overlooked. Your heart sinks deeper into dread, recognizing a new threat posed by these desperate villagers. Their footsteps approach tentatively, wary yet driven by hunger and poverty. You listen helplessly as they sift through the debris of war, scavenging bits of armor, discarded weapons, and any valuables that might have escaped earlier collection. Their whispered exchanges convey a harsh reality, a life driven to the margins by endless war, their morality eroded by the daily struggle for survival. The villagers' approach grows perilously close, each rustle of cloth and faint shuffle of feet amplifying your sense of vulnerability. Panic tightens your chest, constricting your shallow breaths even further. Your muscles ache fiercely from prolonged tension, screaming silently for release, yet you dare not move even the slightest bit. Suddenly, voices rise sharply nearby, an argument breaking out over some discovered trinket. The abrupt noise startles you, your body involuntarily tensing, the suppressed pain of your wounds flaring briefly back into fiery consciousness. For a terrifying instant, you fear your reaction has betrayed your ruse. You hold your breath, heart hammering wildly, as silence returns slowly to the immediate vicinity. Eventually, the argument fades, the villagers moving cautiously onward in their relentless search. You exhale slowly, shakily, gratitude mingling with exhaustion. The chill of the night deepens further, mercilessly gnawing at your exposed skin, exacerbating your discomfort and heightening your agony. Hours pass, marked only by the slow movement of stars across the dark expanse above. Your mind teeters on the brink of delirium, exhaustion eroding the sharp edges of fear and pain into a numb haze. Your thoughts wander through fractured memories, scattered visions of home, family, distant echoes of laughter and warmth. They feel distant, foreign, as if belonging to another life entirely. As the hours stretch relentlessly onward, you grow increasingly aware of your fragile condition. Dehydration sets in, your throat dry and cracked, each breath a searing struggle. Hunger gnaws insistently at your empty stomach, weakening your resolve and sapping what little strength remains. Yet despite your physical torment, you cling fiercely to consciousness, determined to endure through sheer will alone. The horizon gradually begins to lighten, faint streaks of dawn breaking reluctantly through the oppressive darkness. With the arrival of daylight, new dangers will undoubtedly arise, yet hope flutters tentatively within your exhausted heart. The coming day may offer opportunities for escape, rescue, or at the very least, a clearer picture of your dire circumstances. You steel your resolve once more, bracing yourself for the struggles still to come. The night has tested your endurance brutally, stripping away every layer of comfort, dignity, and security, leaving only raw survival instincts intact. As the first rays of sunlight breach the horizon, bathing the battlefield in pale, indifferent light, you prepare yourself mentally and physically for whatever may follow. You've survived the darkness, but the fight for your life is far from finished. The real battle, the battle to reclaim your life from the jaws of death, has only just begun. The first pale rays of dawn spread timidly across the horizon, casting the battlefield in a ghostly, ashen hue. Your eyes flicker open slowly, gritty with exhaustion, pain, and the residue of dried tears. Cold has settled deeply into your bones, making each tentative movement a torturous ordeal. You cautiously flex stiffened limbs, the agony of countless bruises, scrapes, and open wounds asserting itself sharply. Around you, the battlefield gradually awakens from its nightmarish slumber. Birds begin to chirp tentatively from distant trees, their innocent melodies starkly incongruous amidst the lingering horror of battle. Dew clings heavily to trampled grass and discarded weaponry, sparkling faintly under the emerging sunlight like scattered shards of glass. With immense effort, you slowly prop yourself up onto trembling elbows, dizziness washing over you in nauseating waves. The world spins briefly, dark edges creeping into your vision before stabilizing into bleak clarity. The grim reality of your surroundings reasserts itself, countless lifeless bodies sprawled in grotesque contortions, the air thick with the acrid stench of decay and blood. You shudder involuntarily, averting your eyes from the macabre tableau. Every instinct screams at you to flee this place, to escape the pervasive reminders of death and loss, yet your body remains stubbornly uncooperative. Hunger gnaws insistently at your empty stomach, thirst burns painfully in your parched throat, and every muscle protests vehemently against the slightest exertion. Slowly, painstakingly, you force yourself into a seated position, scanning the desolation for signs of immediate danger or potential salvation. Nothing stirs save for the gentle sway of tall grass and the occasional flutter of scavenging birds. Relief mingles cautiously with uncertainty. You're alive, yet your future remains precariously uncertain. Gradually, fragmented thoughts begin coalescing into a rudimentary plan. Find water, seek shelter, evade enemy patrols. Each simple objective feels dauntingly insurmountable in your weakened state, yet survival hinges upon decisive action. With trembling hands, you gather your tattered garments closer, attempting to stave off the relentless chill. Steeling your resolve, you prepare to stand, muscles quivering rebelliously. The first attempt ends abruptly in failure, legs collapsing beneath you, sending fresh jolts of agony through your battered frame. Gritting your teeth, you stubbornly try again, driven by sheer desperation and the primal urge to continue existing. This time, your limbs hold tenuously, supporting your weight despite violent protests. You sway unsteadily, breath ragged and shallow, pulse thundering deafeningly in your ears. A brief moment of triumph flares weakly within your heart, fragile yet meaningful, before reality swiftly dampens your optimism. Your surroundings blur as exhaustion resurfaces, demanding respite. You stumble forward uncertainly, feet dragging through mud and debris, each step more arduous than the last. Progress is agonizingly slow, measured in painful increments rather than strides. Your mind retreats inward, seeking solace in half-remembered memories of comfort and warmth, distant fragments offering fleeting distraction from present torment. Eventually, you spot a shallow stream glistening faintly in the distance, hope rekindling within your weary heart. The sight invigorates your flagging spirit momentarily, providing the necessary motivation to push onward despite overwhelming fatigue. Each shuffling step carries you incrementally closer to precious relief, the promise of water overriding all other immediate concerns. Upon reaching the stream, you collapse onto trembling knees, cupping shaking hands to draw cool, life-giving liquid to your cracked lips. Water courses down your parched throat, soothing immediate discomfort yet exacerbating underlying pain as your weakened body protests the sudden hydration. Despite the initial discomfort, relief floods your senses, gratitude welling powerfully within your chest. After drinking deeply, you sit heavily beside the water's edge, exhaustion overtaking your battered form. Your vision swims dizzily, thoughts muddled by pain, hunger, and relentless fatigue. Yet beneath these debilitating sensations lies stubborn determination, a fierce refusal to surrender despite overwhelming odds. As morning gradually gives way to the steady warmth of day, you allow yourself a fleeting moment of respite, gathering strength for the trials undoubtedly awaiting you. Your battle has transitioned from the chaos of warfare to the equally brutal struggle for survival, each step forward uncertain yet vital. In this new dawn, amidst lingering despair, you cling fiercely to hope, fragile, tenuous, yet undeniably present. For now that must suffice. You have survived the night, now you must survive the day. With the rising sun, now fully above the horizon, Warmth slowly returns, pushing back against the cold, clammy embrace of night. Your senses gradually sharpen as you remain seated beside the stream, listening intently to the gentle gurgle of water flowing over stones. For a moment, this tranquil sound creates an illusion of peace, a temporary reprieve from the horrors you've endured, but reality swiftly reasserts itself. The pains in your body are sharp and unrelenting, reminding you that survival demands constant vigilance. Gathering your resolve, you begin methodically examining your wounds, assessing the severity of your injuries. Every bruise, cut, and scrape pulses with pain, yet none seem life-threatening, a small mercy amidst the torment. Satisfied that immediate death is unlikely, you turn your attention to your surroundings. The landscape is deceptively serene, the stream winding lazily through gentle hills covered in tall grass, scattered trees casting dappled shadows across the earth. Yet, you know better than to trust appearances. Danger lurks unseen, hidden among the peaceful tableau. Carefully rising to your feet once more, you sway briefly before steadying yourself against a nearby tree trunk. Your fingers brush against the rough bark, grounding you in the tangible reality of your predicament. You force yourself forward, muscles protesting each step, your movements cautious and deliberate. Every rustle of grass beneath your feet sends pulses of apprehension coursing through your veins. You move toward a copse of trees, hoping to find some temporary shelter or perhaps even something edible. Each step forward feels heavy and uncertain, your mind acutely aware of how vulnerable you are. The sensation of being watched prickles at your consciousness, though each furtive glance reveals nothing but empty terrain and silent foliage. Finally reaching the trees, you collapse against one, breathing heavily. Your eyes dart anxiously around, scrutinizing each shadow, every subtle movement of leaves. You find a semblance of shelter beneath the low-hanging branches, their leaves providing welcome shade against the intensifying heat. Settling carefully onto the soft earth, you begin a slow, meticulous inventory of your resources, only to realize how dire your situation truly is. You possess neither weapons nor provisions, stripped of even the most basic necessities. Your mind races, exploring possibilities for sustenance, shelter, and defense. Exhaustion weighs heavily upon you, yet the gnawing ache of hunger soon supersedes it. Your gaze scours the area, seeking anything that might quell the empty pain within your stomach. Nearby bushes offer small clusters of berries, tempting yet potentially deadly. Desperation clouds your judgment, but you resist the risky temptation for now, choosing instead to preserve strength and remain vigilant. As you sit quietly, the sounds of the natural world gradually re-emerge. Birds resume their melodies, insects drone lazily, and the occasional rustle hints at unseen wildlife. Despite your precarious circumstances, there's a strange comfort in these ordinary rhythms of life, offering brief respite from constant fear. Yet, soon your attention sharpens again, a distant movement catches your eye. A small group of figures emerges onto the battlefield, their movements slow and cautious. Peasants, perhaps, or scavengers returning in daylight to claim whatever remains untouched. Your pulse quickens as you press yourself deeper into your makeshift cover, heart pounding fearfully at the prospect of discovery. You observe quietly, scarcely breathing, as they methodically pick through remnants of the battle. Their voices carry faintly toward you, tinged with resignation and grim determination. They strip armor and weapons from the fallen, occasionally pausing to examine bodies more closely. Your anxiety spikes as they draw nearer, their systematic search inevitably bringing them closer to your hiding spot. Time slows painfully as you remain motionless, each passing second stretching into eternity. Sweat beads along your brow, trickling irritatingly down your face, yet you dare not wipe it away. Every fiber of your being focuses solely on remaining unseen, unheard. Eventually, The scavengers move on, their attention diverted by other discoveries further afield. Relief washes over you like a wave, leaving you momentarily dizzy with gratitude. But your respite is fleeting. Their brief appearance underscores the ever-present threat looming just beyond sight. Determined not to press your luck further, you cautiously stand again, muscles screaming in protest. You must move, find safer refuge, and somehow secure sustenance. Each slow, laborious step forward carries you deeper into the unknown, further into uncertainty. Survival demands constant vigilance and movement, allowing no respite. As you step forward once more, fear and determination intertwine within you, a precarious balance sustaining your fragile existence. The shadowy uncertainties ahead are daunting, but the will to endure propels you onward. Your journey is far from over. In truth, it has barely begun. Leaving the battlefield behind feels like shedding an invisible yet crushing weight. Each slow step forward takes you deeper into dense woodland, the canopy overhead growing thicker, blotting out the midday sun and plunging you into cool, shadowy twilight. A profound silence envelops you, interrupted only by the soft crunch of leaves underfoot and your own heavy breathing. The scent of moss and damp earth fills your nostrils, replacing the metallic tang of blood and battle. Each inhalation feels cleaner, restorative in a small yet significant way. Your movements, though painful and deliberate, gradually become steadier, driven by the primal urge for self-preservation. Yet the forest, while comforting in its apparent isolation, presents new uncertainties. Dense foliage obscures your sightlines, the twisted, gnarled branches casting eerie shapes onto the ground, conjuring half-seen fears lurking at the edges of your perception. Shadows dance and shift subtly as you pass, each flicker sparking a rush of adrenaline, your body tensing instinctively. Hunger gnaws insistently at your stomach, pushing your mind toward primal urgency. Your eyes scan continuously for anything edible, assessing the plants, roots, and occasional clusters of berries growing amongst tangled underbrush. Memory and instinct war within you. Recollections of village elders cautioning against unknown plants clashing with the desperation of your current plight. You stop briefly at a small clearing, sunlight filtering gently through a gap in the leaves above. Kneeling carefully, you examine a cluster of wild berries closely, their vibrant color tempting yet suspicious. With a sigh, you reluctantly decide against risking it, rising once more with resigned determination. The terrain grows increasingly uneven, roots and rocks protruding treacherously from the earth, forcing careful, deliberate progress. Your physical exhaustion intensifies, every muscle protesting loudly against continued exertion. Yet the forest also offers a sense of shelter, a semblance of safety that encourages perseverance despite your aching body. Eventually, the sound of gently flowing water reaches your ears once more, prompting cautious optimism. Following the distant murmur, you soon discover a modest brook winding through the forest floor, its crystal-clear waters glinting softly in the scattered light. Relief floods your weary form, your pace quickening despite protests from battered muscles. You collapse gratefully beside the brook, cupping shaking hands to bring cool water to your parched lips, drinking deeply until thirst finally subsides. Washing grime and dried blood from your wounds brings temporary pain, yet the cleanliness feels rejuvenating, reviving your battered spirits. After quenching your thirst, you lean back against a sturdy tree, exhaustion overwhelming your senses once again. Your eyes drift shut briefly, allowing yourself a rare moment of rest, aware yet unable to resist the body's demands for respite. The gentle rustling of leaves and the brook's soft gurgle form a lullaby, soothing yet insufficient to fully dispel lingering anxiety. In this quiet pause, your mind begins to wander, memories flooding back in vivid detail, images of home, faces of loved ones, moments filled with laughter and warmth, stark contrasts to the harshness now defining your existence. A pang of longing surges sharply through your chest, potent and bittersweet, grounding you painfully in reality once more. A sudden snap of a branch jolts you sharply from reverie, heart racing with renewed fear. Your body freezes instinctively, senses sharpening to pinpoint the source of disruption. Silence settles again heavily, the forest betraying nothing of its secrets. Yet tension remains taut within you, wariness now fully restored. You rise carefully, muscles aching anew with the movement, and begin a cautious search for more substantial shelter. Each cautious step deeper into the forest feels uncertain, yet necessary, survival urging continuous vigilance. Twilight begins to deepen into evening shadows, casting the forest in shades of indigo and gray, amplifying your unease. At last a rocky outcropping emerges from the gloom ahead, offering potential refuge from elements and unseen threats alike. You approach warily, examining the terrain for signs of recent occupation. Finding nothing alarming, you slip gratefully into the sheltered hollow beneath the stones, relief washing over you profoundly. Night descends swiftly, enveloping the forest in darkness punctuated only by distant starlight filtering weakly through dense foliage. Your body sinks heavily into exhausted slumber, vigilance yielding momentarily to overwhelming fatigue. Yet even sleep offers scant relief. Visions of battle, echoes of desperate screams, and the relentless grasp of death haunt your restless dreams. You awaken frequently, heart hammering painfully, eyes wide and alert. Only the soft whispers of forest leaves and distant nocturnal calls offer comfort against your fears. Through the long night, you find solace only in the resolve forged by your ordeal. Each heartbeat, each measured breath, is a defiance of death, a reaffirmation of life. Despite uncertainty, despite the persistent dangers lurking unseen, you cling fiercely to the will to survive. The forest shelters you reluctantly, its whispers a constant reminder of your vulnerability. Yet for now, it is enough. One night survived, another dawn awaited. The first glimmers of dawn seep through your rocky shelter, casting gentle fingers of light into the dim recesses of your temporary refuge. You awaken slowly, your body stiff from the night's cramped rest, every muscle screaming softly with residual pain. Despite your discomfort, a quiet sense of triumph lingers. Another night endured, another small victory in your ongoing battle for survival. Emerging cautiously from your shelter, you are greeted by the crisp, invigorating air of early morning. The forest around you gradually comes alive, birdsong weaving harmoniously through the rustling leaves, gentle sunlight dappling the forest floor in patterns of gold and shadow. Yet beneath the peaceful surface, your senses remain acutely alert, attuned to the constant threat of unseen dangers. Driven by hunger, you resume your slow, deliberate search for nourishment. The previous day's caution towards unknown plants remains firmly ingrained, guiding your cautious exploration. You move methodically through the underbrush, meticulously inspecting plants and roots, hoping desperately for something edible. Eventually your patience is rewarded. Hidden beneath a cluster of broad leaves, you discover a small patch of wild tubers. Relief floods your aching body as you carefully dig them from the earth, your dirt-encrusted hands trembling slightly with anticipation. Though bitter and gritty, the sustenance they offer is invaluable, quieting the gnawing emptiness in your stomach and renewing your strength. With hunger momentarily appeased, you allow yourself a brief respite, seated against the sturdy trunk of an ancient tree. Your mind drifts to thoughts of home, memories rendered sharper by hardship, soft laughter around a communal fire, shared meals with family, the warmth of familiar voices. These visions, though comforting, also intensify the ache of loneliness, deepening your sense of isolation within the vast, indifferent wilderness. Lost in contemplation, you almost miss the faint sound drifting through the trees, a distant murmur of voices, unmistakably human. Your heart leaps with cautious hope, tempered by wary suspicion, rising swiftly but silently. You strain your ears, attempting to discern the direction and intent of these unseen individuals. Guided by curiosity and the undeniable pull of human contact, you navigate carefully towards the source of the sound. Each step is deliberate, your heart quickening as the voices grow louder, clearer. Soon you catch sight of movement through the dense foliage, a small group of figures huddled around a modest campfire, their conversation low and earnest. Observing discreetly from a distance, you evaluate their demeanor, seeking signs of potential danger or hostility. Their appearance suggests fellow survivors rather than soldiers or scavengers, their ragged clothing and weary expressions mirroring your own condition. The possibility of camaraderie beckons enticingly, yet caution restrains your impulse to approach openly. After careful consideration, you choose subtlety, slowly making your presence known through intentionally audible footsteps and gentle rustling. The group's reaction is swift yet measured, hands moving reflexively toward makeshift weapons before relaxing slightly upon seeing your bedraggled state. An older man rises cautiously, his wary gaze softening as he assesses your obvious exhaustion and vulnerability. Words of cautious greeting pass quietly between you, tentative and guarded at first, gradually becoming more open as mutual trust slowly builds. The shared understanding of hardship forms an unspoken bond, bridging initial suspicion and fostering a sense of fragile community. Their stories echo your own: displacement, loss, relentless struggle, each narrative a poignant reflection of humanity's resilience in the face of unending conflict. Hours slip by unnoticed as conversation flows quietly, punctuated by moments of reflective silence. The simple act of speaking, of being heard, offers profound comfort, temporarily easing the burdens carried within your battered heart. You exchange practical wisdom about survival, learn about safe foraging, and absorb invaluable insights about navigating the treacherous terrain. As daylight gradually wanes into evening's soft twilight, you reluctantly acknowledge the need to continue your journey separately, each party understanding the risks of prolonged proximity. Farewells are subdued yet genuine, words exchanged with heartfelt sincerity and mutual hope for eventual safety. Stepping back into solitude, your heart feels lighter despite lingering uncertainties. The encounter has reaffirmed your determination, reminding you vividly of humanity's capacity for compassion amidst adversity. You move forward resolutely, carrying the quiet strength of shared experiences, bolstered by renewed purpose and connection. Night approaches swiftly, darkness cloaking the forest once again, yet tonight you rest with greater ease, comforted by the echoes of humanity resonating softly within your heart. Your ordeal remains far from over, yet now you bear the weight with newfound resilience, fortified by the knowledge that even amidst despair, connection and hope persist. The new morning greets you, with lingering remnants of yesterday's encounter, filling your spirit with quiet determination as you venture deeper into the woods. Each measured step resonates with newfound resolve, your body feeling more responsive, your mind sharpened by camaraderie and shared wisdom. Yet, beneath your renewed optimism lurks a persistent vigilance, a cautious awareness of the unpredictable world around you. Sunlight dances gently through the leaves, casting delicate, ever-shifting patterns upon the forest floor. Birdsong fills the air, accompanied by the subtle whispers of leaves rustling softly in the breeze. The natural tranquility of your surroundings belies the stark reality of your circumstance, peaceful yet fraught with hidden dangers. Navigating slowly through thick foliage, your senses remain finely tuned, alert to the faintest sound or movement. Your newly acquired knowledge, guides you skillfully around potential hazards, discerning edible plants with cautious confidence, and identifying subtle indicators of animal trails. Gradually, your confidence grows, tempered by the humility that survival inevitably instills. At midday, you discover another small stream trickling gently between moss-covered stones. The clear water sparkles invitingly, prompting you to pause and replenish your strength. Kneeling by the water's edge, you drink deeply, savoring the cool, refreshing liquid as it rejuvenates your parched throat. The simple act of drinking clean water feels like an unearned luxury amidst relentless hardship. Resting briefly beside the stream, you contemplate your next move. Memories of the previous day's encounter linger fondly in your mind, reinforcing your determination to survive and eventually return home. Yet the uncertainty of your future looms dauntingly ahead, the path forward obscured by shadows of doubt and potential danger. Rising once more, you press onward, traversing increasingly rugged terrain. The dense canopy overhead thickens further, plunging the forest into deeper shade, the sunlight filtering weakly through scattered openings. Each careful step takes you deeper into unknown territory, the unfamiliar landscape heightening both curiosity and caution. Eventually, your path intersects with another, clearly trodden by frequent passage. Footprints, faint yet distinct, mark the trail, indicating recent travel. Your heart quickens slightly with uncertainty, aware that others have recently traversed this route, though their intentions remain unknown. You deliberate briefly, weighing options and potential consequences, ultimately deciding to follow the path cautiously, mindful of possible encounters. The trail winds steadily onward, marked intermittently by subtle indications of human presence: a discarded scrap of cloth, a snapped branch, footprints pressed deeply into moist earth. Late afternoon sunlight bathes the forest in a gentle golden hue, creating an almost surreal atmosphere of quiet beauty. The air is filled with a pleasant stillness, momentarily soothing your frayed nerves. Yet your heightened awareness remains unwavering, each step deliberate and calculated. As twilight approaches, the faint aroma of wood smoke drifts gently through the trees, guiding you cautiously toward its source. Your pulse quickens slightly, anticipation mingling with apprehension as you advance carefully, scanning ahead for signs of life. Soon you spot a modest clearing containing the remains of a recent encampment, a few scattered logs arranged around a central fire pit, faint embers glowing softly. The camp appears abandoned, yet the warmth of the coals indicates recent occupation. You approach warily, inspecting the area meticulously for signs of danger or deception. Your search yields few answers, only ambiguous evidence of travelers recently departed. Questions swirl within your mind, uncertainty gnawing persistently at your thoughts. Have they moved onward, or do they remain nearby, hidden within the dense woodland? Nightfall arrives swiftly, shadows lengthening as darkness reclaims the forest. Weighing the risks of further travel against the security offered by the encampment, you ultimately decide to remain, utilizing the residual warmth of the coals to create a modest fire. The flickering flames offer small comfort against encroaching darkness, their gentle warmth easing your physical exhaustion. Sleep arrives fitfully, punctuated by intermittent awakenings, each sound within the surrounding darkness startling your senses into alertness. Yet despite persistent anxiety, your resolve remains steadfast, strengthened by the resilience forged through adversity and camaraderie. Beneath the quiet glow of starlight, amidst the subtle symphony of nocturnal life, you reflect upon your journey, contemplating the challenges ahead with cautious optimism. The path forward remains uncertain, fraught with danger yet illuminated faintly by hope, guiding you ever onward through shadow and uncertainty. The forest holds its breath beneath the pale shimmer of moonlight. You lie, curled near the glowing remnants of the campfire, cocooned in uneasy rest. The air is crisp, tinged with the scent of earth and ash, each breath a quiet struggle between exhaustion and vigilance. Your body remains tense, ears straining to catch any suspicious movement, yet your mind begins to drift. Sleep doesn't come easily in the wilderness. It arrives in waves, short, fractured moments of unconsciousness, broken by distant hoots, shifting leaves, or the imagined sound of an approaching footstep. It's a night of shallow dozing, not unlike the battlefield where every blink could be your last. You toss and turn, each position slightly less uncomfortable than the last, but none offering true rest. In those sleepless gaps, your mind drifts to memories of home. The sound of your mother's wooden ladle against a clay pot, the smoke of early morning fires drifting over your childhood fields, the voice of your younger sibling calling after you before the draft came. These fragments settle over your thoughts like ash, light but suffocating. And for a moment, you feel the weight of grief more than the burden of survival. You awaken just before dawn, your body sore, your spirit strangely renewed. The fire is down to cold ash, and the clearing is silent. After a quick scan confirms you're still alone, you gather your belongings and prepare to move on, your destination still unknown. You wrap your threadbare cloak around you more tightly. The air smells clean, faintly metallic. Rain may come. The morning light trickles through the trees in shards of gold. You follow the trail once more, heading deeper into unfamiliar terrain. Occasionally you pass broken branches or scattered footprints, confirming that you are not the only soul wandering this war-torn land. Each step takes you further from the chaos of the battlefield, but not necessarily closer to safety. By midday, your path opens up to an old, disused road, its stones cracked, weeds pushing through like slow defiance. It feels strange to see a man-made structure again. For a moment you wonder what it once connected. A village, a fortress, a trade route abandoned when war swallowed civility. You try to imagine bustling carts, traders, children running between houses. The image feels like a dream from another life. You follow it cautiously, wary of ambush. A sudden rustling in the underbrush halts you. Your hand moves to your broken spear, now more a walking stick than weapon, and your heartbeat quickens. But it's only a deer, startled by your presence. You let out a slow breath, half relieved, half disappointed. The road curves toward a shallow hill. Climbing it you find an unexpected sight below, a ruined village. Roofs caved in, fences collapsed, but the layout remains, ghosts of normal life etched into the land. You descend slowly, drawn toward it like a moth to dying flame. You step past the outer wall, once a symbol of protection, now little more than splintered timber. Inside you find the remains of human routine. Clay pots shattered in corners, farming tools rusting in sheds, cloth left to rot in doorways. You walk softly, as though your presence might disturb those who once called this place home. In one building, half fallen, you find a cot. It's dusty, brittle but still intact. You sit for a long while listening to the silence, letting your thoughts wander. What kind of people lived here? Did they flee? Did they resist? Did they survive? Did a mother clutch her child when the gates broke? Did someone die defending the rice granary? Outside you gather what little remains, some dry thatch for warmth, a rusted pan that could still boil water, a wooden bowl. You avoid the well. The idea of peering into its dark depths unsettles you. Wells remember things, deep things. As evening returns you choose the least damaged house and prepare a small smokeless fire. There is comfort here, not quite safety, but the illusion of shelter. And tonight, that's enough. You set the broken spear near the door and huddle near the flame. watching the shadows dance across the cracked walls. You hum to yourself, the same lullaby your grandmother sang, quiet enough not to draw attention. The moon climbs again. Outside, wind stirs fallen leaves. You eat what roots and tubers you manage to gather, chewing slowly in the silence. Then curled into the corner, wrapped in tattered fabric and thin hope, you sleep, not deeply, but fully enough. Tonight, the stars above bear witness. Silent, distant, uncaring, and still they shine. Morning again, but not bright. The sky is swollen with a thick curtain of gray clouds, pressing low like a heavy blanket soaked with worry. The kind of morning where the world seems to hold its breath, waiting for something it can't quite name. You rise slowly from your cot of bundled thatch, joints stiff and back aching. The embers from last night's fire still smolder faintly. You stir them with a stick and add some dry kindling scavenged the day before. The flames wake reluctantly, flickering as though uncertain whether to return. You eat quietly, a few withered berries, a handful of boiled roots, bitter but edible. They stick in your throat like guilt. The ruined village is still. No birds, no wind, just the sound of your own movements, echoing off broken walls and collapsed beams. You spend the morning exploring cautiously, stepping through fractured homes like a ghost revisiting old memories. You find broken combs, cracked bowls, a child's toy carved from wood, still smiling though the hands that once held it are long gone. In one home, near the edge of the village, you find something different, a shrine, or what's left of one. A small stone alcove with incense ashes frozen mid-burn, offerings long since rotted. A bundle of prayer sticks snapped in half. You kneel, unsure why. Maybe habit, maybe hope. You press your forehead to the cool stone and whisper a prayer, half-formed, for no one in particular. For yourself perhaps, for the fallen, for the forgotten. Outside, the wind finally arrives, carrying with it the smell of wet earth and distant wood smoke. That last part tightens your chest. Someone, somewhere nearby, has a fire, and not the kind made to avoid attention. A bold flame. You gather your things quickly, heart racing. Is it friend, foe, bandit, villager? The list of possibilities is short and unpleasant, but curiosity and the need for information drives you. You follow the scent eastward, quietly, cautiously, through the trees and down an overgrown path, your ears tuned for footsteps, your hand resting always on your spear. Eventually you see it, smoke rising gently from behind a low hill. You crouch low and creep closer, through ferns and brush, until you spot a clearing. There's a camp. 2 men, rough-looking, with mismatched armor and stained cloaks, sit beside a fire roasting something unidentifiable. A third leans against a tree, sharpening a blade with practiced ease. Bandits. Your breath stills. Your heartbeat feels loud enough to betray you. But they haven't seen you. You retreat slowly, step by step, until the camp is out of sight. Then you run, not wildly, but efficiently, through trees, across broken paths, back toward the ruined village, but not inside. You veer north instead, deeper into unfamiliar territory. The rest of the day is spent putting distance between you and the danger. Every rustle makes you flinch. Every bird call sounds like a whistle for an ambush. You move until your legs ache and your throat is raw from silence. At dusk you stop beneath a rock outcrop and build a tiny fire, hidden from sight. You eat what little you have left. Sleep comes harder tonight, the image of the bandits replaying in your mind. You've survived again, but only barely. And for how much longer, you wonder. The stars say nothing, but the ruins behind you, they whispered something, something you'll never forget. You begin to dream, but even your dreams feel unsettled. In them, the faces of the bandits shift to resemble people from your past, your older brother, your training captain, the neighbor who once offered you a pear in summer. The dreams mock you, and you wake repeatedly in sweat, unsure if you're cold or simply afraid. You spend that night in and out of fractured rest, never sleeping more than a half hour at a time. When the morning comes again, barely light behind the clouds, you are already awake, already watching the forest around you. You make a vow, quiet and simple: never sleep in the open again. The weight of fear presses heavy on your shoulders, but your legs carry you forward. Another day survived, and that has to be enough. You walk alone now. Truly alone. Not just the kind of solitude you felt when comrades fell beside you in battle, or when you sat alone among ruins, whispering prayers to forgotten gods. This is something else. This is the silence of a world that no longer notices your presence, a kind of invisibility, a kind of freedom, and a kind of curse. The forest thickens around you, ancient trees rising like twisted watchmen, roots claw across the narrow paths, vines hang like drapes in a temple you never asked to enter. Each step is cautious. You place your feet not just to move forward but to stay alive. A careless crunch could betray you to the beasts of the wild, or worse, to men. You spend days like this. Perhaps 3, perhaps 5. Time has become a fluid concept, measured only by the rhythm of hunger and the pressure behind your eyes when sleep fails to come. You nibble bark, chew bitter leaves. You even catch a frog once, your hands trembling with both excitement and revulsion. You cook it over a flame so small it barely exists, and the taste is awful, but it's food. Eventually you come upon an old stone marker half buried in moss, a milestone cracked with age. It tells you 2 things. 1, that civilization is closer than you thought, and 2, that the land you now walk was once ruled, measured, counted, claimed. What happened to those rulers? To the ones who carved these roads, placed these stones, built the shrines and the homes and the markets? War, of course. War happened. The same war that spat you out like a loose tooth. You make your way down the overgrown trail, heart rising in your throat. On the second day of this new path, you hear voices. Not grunts of violence, not shouts of pursuit. Just voices, normal conversation, laughter even. You hide, of course. You crouch in the underbrush and watch, breath frozen. 2 farmers, with baskets strapped to their backs, walking along a muddy ridge. Their clothing is humble but clean, their steps unhurried. The older one tells a story that makes the younger one laugh so hard he nearly drops his load of turnips. You want to cry, not from sorrow, not from relief, but from the reminder that there is still a world beyond the blood. People still plant, still joke, still carry on. You follow them from a distance for hours, just close enough to not lose the path, far enough to remain invisible. And then, just before dusk, you see it. A village. Not the ruined skeletons you've picked through. A living, breathing village. Lanterns sway gently in the wind. Smoke curls from chimneys. Chickens strut. Children run. Dogs bark. The scent of rice cooking floats through the air like a memory from another life. Your feet stop. You stare. A great slow ache rises in your chest. You could walk in. Ask for food. Shelter. A job, perhaps. Say you were a deserter, or a pilgrim, or just lost. You could lie. Or tell the truth. Either way, you might be allowed to stay. But then, the guilt. The armor you no longer wear, the screams that still echo, the men you watched die while pretending to be dead yourself. Do you deserve this village? You sit on a stone beneath a tree, for hours, watching, debating. Fear coils in your gut like a resting snake. In the end, you do not enter. Instead, you walk the perimeter. Half a mile beyond the last hut, you find a hill with a small abandoned lookout shack. Its roof is half collapsed. Its walls lean like a drunk man, but it is shelter. You fix the roof with branches. You clear out the dead birds and cobwebs. You patch a gap with your old cloak. You make a home. And from that hill you watch the village below. Every day, every night. You become a shadow. A whisper on the wind. A ghost who watches the living. Weeks pass. Maybe months. You stop counting. You begin trapping rabbits. Drying meat. You mend your clothes with twine stripped from branches. You build tools. You tend a small garden behind the shack. Turnips, mostly. They grow stubborn and strong, and slowly the dreams begin to change. You still see the war, the blood, the fallen. But now you also dream of the village, of peace, of lives you do not touch, but protect in silence. You hear a rumor one night. A traveling peddler speaks in hushed tones near a roadside fire that a ghost watches over the village from the northern hill, that crops seem to grow better that season, that bandits avoid the road near the old marker. A ghost. You smile in the dark. You've become a story now, a myth, a thing children whisper about under blankets. But you're real, and alive, and sometimes that's enough. It begins with a sound, not a bird call, not a squirrel darting through leaves. This sound has rhythm, has intent. It is the clinking of metal, the thud of boots, the low murmur of men speaking in tired voices. Soldiers, you freeze. You are crouched at the edge of your hillside, peering through a fringe of overgrowth. The village below continues in its dreamlike rhythm. Smoke rising, children running, rice being pounded in steady thuds. But further out, beyond the footpath that curls like a snake around the rice paddies, you see them, a patrol, 10 men, maybe 12, clad in the colors of a distant lord. Their armor glints like beetle backs. Their faces are hard, unsmiling, gaunt. These are not fresh troops on their first assignment. These are men who have seen too much and forgotten how to look gentle. You remain silent. The wind doesn't help. It shifts direction and dies. The birds go quiet too, like even they understand this change in tone. You crouch deeper into the underbrush and listen. They're talking about the area, about how this village might be supplying deserters, about rumors of a hidden rebel group using the woods for cover. One man mentions something else, something that freezes your blood. The ghost of the northern hill, he says, chuckling. Maybe we smoke him out and ask him a few questions. The others laugh, but it's not a kind laugh. It's the kind of laugh men use to cover the fact they're scared. You slide away from the ledge, silently. Every movement now is calculated, controlled. You return to your lookout shack. You pack only what's necessary: rope, knife, dried meat. The arrowhead you once found in a riverbed and kept for no reason other than it made you feel less empty. You don't plan to run, not yet, but you may need to soon. Instead you prepare. That night you light no fire. You eat cold roots and sit in stillness. You don't dream. You don't blink. You listen. By dawn the soldiers have entered the village. You watch from your perch, heart pounding so loud you worry the trees can hear it. They ask questions, speak to elders, inspect barns, search carts. They take nothing, hurt no one, but their presence is poison. The villagers look smaller under their eyes. You consider your options. If they come for the hill, for you could fight. You've laid traps. You know the terrain better than any map maker. But you also know what would happen after. The village would pay. Even if you win, they would suffer. You were once a soldier. You know how retaliation works. So you do something unexpected. You walk into the village. No cloak, no disguise. Just yourself, as you are. You step out from the trees just before dusk, when the light makes the world feel like a painting. Your body stiff, your heart a drum in your throat. The children see you first. One gasps, another runs. Not in fear, at least, not entirely, in awe. The elders come next, then the farmers, then the soldiers. You raise your hand slowly, palms up, empty. You speak, you say your name. You say you fought in the war, that you lost, that you ran, that you survived. You tell the truth. The soldiers listen. One steps forward and asks, with narrow eyes, why they shouldn't drag you away. You tell him, because I'm the reason no bandits come here. Because I watched over this village while your lord forgot it existed. It's a gamble. The officer doesn't answer immediately. He studies you for a long moment, then looks at the villagers. No one speaks. Then the elder steps forward. We know this man, she says. He has never asked for food, never disturbed the peace. We offer him no shelter, yet he watches us. He is no threat. A pause. He is our ghost. The soldier's mouth twitches. Not a smile, not a frown, something in between. They leave the next morning. You remain, but not in the shadows anymore. You are given a small corner of the village, near the shrine, a place to sleep, a pot to cook, a name that isn't whispered anymore but spoken. You spend your days helping rebuild, mending fences, hauling water, teaching children how to string a bow. No one asks you to, but they don't stop you either. You still walk the woods, still listen to the wind, but now you do it openly. And when someone greets you on the road, you greet them back. And sometimes at night, when the fire is low and the stars blink sleepily above, you wonder, did playing dead once save your life? Or did it simply delay your rebirth? You don't know, but either way you're here. And finally you're seen. The village has accepted you, at least for now. There is a place for your cot, a bowl for your rice, a pair of hands to greet yours with coal-used palms and quiet understanding. No parades, no medals, just a new routine that doesn't require blood. But the acceptance doesn't erase the ghosts. It only gives them quieter rooms to haunt. You wake each morning to the soft toll of a wooden bell. A child rings it near the well. His hands are small and quick. You nod to him on your way to fetch water, and he nods back like you've done this for years. You haven't, but it feels like you have. You learn their rhythms. Market days on the third sun, after a full moon. Ceremonies for the planting season. Offerings to shrines that seem older than memory. You don't participate at first. You watch. You learn. You memorize the movements the way a soldier memorizes an enemy's gait. One evening, the elder invites you to share a meal. It's humble. Pickled radish, boiled barley, river fish roasted on a skewer. But the taste makes your eyes water, not from heat or spice, but from memory. You haven't shared a warm meal since the day your unit was decimated on a sunlit hill that now exists only in your nightmares. Around the fire, the villagers speak in low voices. They talk of crops, of missing chickens, of a young couple trying to elope without permission. Small stories, earthbound worries. You sit with your bowl and listen, your mind oddly calm. Then someone asks you to tell a story. You blink. At first you shake your head. What story could you tell? A tale of blood and screaming, of men drowning in mud, begging their mothers with their last breath. That's all you know. But they wait. So you speak, not of war, not directly. Instead you tell them about a bird you once saw, trapped in a battlefield silence. A heron white as a cloud, standing among the corpses untouched, watching. They listen. Even the children, even the chickens. When you finish, no one claps, but the elder nods, and the boy who rings the well bell offers you an extra skewer. That night sleep comes differently, not deeper but softer, as if your body is learning how to rest again without needing to be ready to flee. In the weeks that follow, you become part of the landscape. You repair roofs. You teach the youths how to sharpen tools. You show them how to read the sky, predict storms, track deer. One boy asks you if you were a great general once. You laugh, loudly, too loudly. It startles him. You apologize. No, you say. I was just someone trying not to die. He nods like that makes sense. At the shrine you light incense. Not every day, but often enough that the villagers notice. You pray not for victory or vengeance, or even forgiveness. You pray for stillness, Sometimes a woman brings you extra rice. Sometimes a man offers to teach you how to carve flute holes in bamboo. Sometimes the children sneak you sweets wrapped in lotus leaves. You never ask for these things, but you begin to accept them, not with guilt, not anymore. There's one evening, just one, that breaks the rhythm. A drunk stranger enters the village, a traveler lost or perhaps just stupid. He sees you, sees the old armor pieces in your shack, sees the knife you keep by your cot. He mocks you, calls you a coward, a deserter. The village hears it. No one speaks. You do not rise. You do not answer. You simply wait. Eventually he leaves. The elder follows him to the gate and points to the road. The children throw stones behind him, not at him, but near enough to hasten his steps. The next day the boy by the well rings the bell twice. A small signal, a quiet code. It means you are one of them. You keep working. One night you take a walk up the northern hill where your shack once stood. You find it still there, empty now, dusty, but not ruined. You sit on the same stone where you once watched the village from the shadows, but now you watch with different eyes. Not a ghost, not a soldier, just a man. And as the stars scatter themselves across the velvet sky, and a breeze rustles the long grass like fingers brushing an old harp, you smile. The past hasn't left you, but neither has the present, and the present finally is enough. The village has grown used to your presence. It no longer hesitates when it sees you approach. People wave before you wave. Chickens scurry around your ankles without alarm. Children call your name. Not with reverence, not with fear, but with the effortless familiarity they reserve for old trees or favorite rocks. You've become a fixture, a background element, and yet not quite invisible. But inside you, something stirs, a restlessness, not dissatisfaction, not really. Just a gentle reminder that you used to move, that your feet once ached from more than field work, that your ears once strained not for thunderclouds or barking dogs, but for distant marching drums and dying breath. You take walks, long ones, not to escape, but to listen. Each tree seems to whisper. The wind carries snatches of forgotten speech. Your commander's voice, clipped and cold, a brother in arms laughing with a mouthful of rice. Sometimes you reply, quietly, as if the woods need reminding that you're still here. The villagers don't ask where you go, but when you return, someone always leaves a bowl of something hot on your step, a silent welcome. One morning the elder sends for you. You find her in the granary, counting sacks. Her spine is bent but her voice remains iron. A boy has gone missing, she says. The farmer's son. You know the one. You do. The one who carved a wooden rabbit for you and shyly placed it near your tool shed without ever admitting it. You nod. Last seen near the old watchtower, she adds. The one the war gods forgot. You set off before she finishes speaking. The watchtower is 3 hills away, abandoned decades ago, overgrown with moss and secrets. You remember it. You passed it once, long ago, while fleeing. Back then you were too scared to stop. Now you run toward it. The path is half forgotten, swallowed by ivy and stubborn roots. You duck under branches, climb stone ridges, follow footprints like prayers. It takes hours, but you find him, huddled in the shade of the tower, nursing a twisted ankle, tear-streaked and silent. He looks at you like you're not real. You sit beside him and say nothing. Eventually he speaks. I wanted to see what ghosts live here. He whispers. You smile. There's only one, you reply. And he forgot how to haunt. He laughs. A hiccup of sound. Then he winces. You carry him home on your back. It's not easy. The incline bites at your legs. Your shoulders scream. But the weight feels familiar. Right. Not like a burden. Like a duty. Like penance, perhaps, or a memory you owe to someone who can't collect it. Back in the village, people crowd around, relief, gratitude, scolding. It all floods at once. You don't linger. You retreat to your tool shed and stare at the wooden rabbit. Later the boy returns. Alone, he sets another carving beside the first. This one's a fox. No words, just the placing of one small gift next to another. That night you dream, not of war, but of walking. Through woods that shimmer with dew, past trees that bow gently as you pass, toward a place that hums with quiet welcome. You walk not to escape, not to flee, just to move. And beside you barefoot walks the boy, laughing, whole, unafraid. You wake with tears in your eyes, but you smile, because for the first time in years your tears aren't carved from grief, they're made of grace. It begins with the moon, not just any moon, a harvest moon, swollen and amber, casting its light like syrup over the village. It is time, the elder says, for the festival of quiet souls, a night when the living whisper to the dead and listen for echoes. You didn't know such a festival existed. Perhaps it didn't. Once. Perhaps it was invented recently. Or perhaps it was always here, hiding in plain sight, much like yourself. Preparations begin at dawn. Small wooden altars are dusted off. Old cloth banners are retrieved from storage, their colors faded by years but not forgotten. Children run errands with solemn excitement. Even the roosters seem to crow more respectfully. You are given a task: carve lanterns from turnips and gourds. At first your hands fumble. Your fingers are better suited to spear shafts than soft vegetables. But an old woman shows you a trick. Slice from beneath, not above. Let the blade curve, not stab. Let the shape reveal itself instead of forcing it. You listen, you learn. Your first lantern is hideous. The second, slightly better. By the seventh, a boy pats your shoulder with approval and says, "That one almost doesn't look terrified." You laugh. So do they. As night falls, the village transforms. Lanterns line every path. Bowls of rice and incense rest on stoops. The air smells of smoke and sweetness. Burned pine needles, candied plum and river mint. Every window glows. Every doorway whispers. You are invited to the shrine, not as a guest, not as a ghost, as one of them. You stand in a line with the others, clutching your small lantern. Inside, a candle flickers. Outside, crickets sing like distant flutes. The night is still but never silent. One by one, villagers step forward. They kneel, they murmur, they place their lanterns at the foot of the shrine. Some cry, some smile, some speak long, winding stories to the air. When your turn comes, you do not kneel. You sit, not out of defiance, but because your knees ache in a way that feels holy. You hold your lantern and speak, not loudly, not with poetry, just truth. "I didn't want to die," you begin. The wind stills. "I didn't want to kill either, but I did. I did it because I was told to, because I was afraid, because I didn't know another way." The flame in your lantern flutters. "I survived. I ran. I hid. I lied. I played dead. And sometimes I wished I had stayed dead." Your voice does not break. It folds, like cloth being set aside after too many winters. "But I met people. I saw kindness. I tasted tea that wasn't stolen. I heard laughter that wasn't nervous. I think I've started to live again." You set the lantern down. It continues to burn. No applause, no chorus, just the rustle of leaves and the sigh of a very old tree. The elder places a hand on your shoulder, not to praise, not to guide, just to connect. The ceremony ends with music, not drums, not horns, just a boy's flute and a girl's soft humming. You sway with the others. You don't know the steps, but you don't need to. Afterward, you sit beneath a tree and watch the lanterns glow like grounded stars. The boy from the watchtower sits beside you. "I made a new carving," he says. You raise an eyebrow. "It's you," he grins, "but with a better nose." You both laugh. Later, long after the village has gone quiet, you walk the lantern path alone. You stop at your own. The candle inside is nearly out. You relight it, not because it needs to be seen, but because you finally want to see. And in the flicker of that small, stubborn flame, you see your reflection. Not a ghost, not a coward, just a man who lived. It is the morning after the Festival of Quiet Souls. Dew blankets the thatched roofs, glistening like forgotten promises. Smoke curls slowly from cook fires. A rooster crows but softly, as if mindful of the ghosts still making their way home. You sit alone on the steps of your shack, not out of sorrow, not out of habit, but out of gratitude. The villagers are stirring. You see the boy with the carvings chasing a chicken with a string. You hear the mother of the injured farmer's son scolding her husband for tracking mud inside. You hear life, and in all that, you begin to think about what it means to remember, not to cling, not to ache, but to remember, as in to rebuild with memory, because forgetting was never the goal. You start to write. A charcoal stick, a scrap of parchment, traded from the peddler last moon. At first it's just lists people you knew, places you fled, nights you survived, then stories, tiny ones. A game of dice in the rain, a sergeant who sang lullabies to his horse, the smell of mint leaves pressed under a boot. You don't write to publish, you write to release. Soon others ask what you're doing. You show them. The elder brings you a larger scroll. The children bring you inkberries. Someone leaves a goose feather quill by your door. A boy offers to copy what you write, his handwriting crooked but eager. And just like that, your memories become shared. They breathe beyond your skull. They stretch. They settle. They grow. People begin to tell you their own stories, not just war stories, love stories, ghost stories, tales about the time the fish vendor fell in love with a traveling opera singer, the time lightning struck the same tree twice on purpose, they say. Because the gods were arguing, you become a collector, a historian in the sleepiest, gentlest sense of the word. The boy with the carvings brings you a model of a soldier. It's small, wooden, but its posture is strong. Its eyes are clear. It's you, he says. No, you reply, smiling. It's all of us. There is a mountain beyond the forest, tall and indifferent. One day you climb it, not because you're fleeing, not because you're scouting, just because you want to see. It takes hours. Your knees complain, your breath shortens, but at the summit the world unfurls. Villages like beads on a string, rivers like silver threads, fields like green blankets folded by careful hands. You sit, you watch, and for the first time in years you whisper not a prayer, not a confession, just a truth. I lived. Below in the village a festival begins again. You'll go back soon. There are more stories to write, but for now you let the wind press against your cheeks. Let the past drift past you like fog giving way to dawn. You do not forget. You do not linger. You remember. And you live.